Welcome back to another True Crime Saturday. I do apologize for the last True Crime Saturday episode because apparently it cut out entirely. I didn't see it until it was a little later than everybody else, obviously, but the episode cut out at about 8.5 minutes. And honestly, the episode should have been carried on. I mean, it wasn't too big of a drop, but I believe the episode ended up being, it should have actually been around, I believe, 12 or 13 minutes, but still. Yeah, we're doing a little bit of a restream tonight. It's going to be pretty quick. We are going to be covering the Mr. Cruel case, and like I said, we're going to be rushing through this very, very quickly, because there's a lot to cover, and I don't have everything put together quite yet. Concerning everything else, because there's a lot more I'd like to go and cover, but I just don't have the information fully vetted out yet. But Mr. Cruel was a kidnapper. He was a murderer, and he was a pervert. Right? Just to put it bluntly. Now, I do want to go give everybody here just a little bit of a chance. Viewer discretion is advised here. This case is a little bit brutal. Not as much about like gore or anything like this, but just the content, exactly like what he had done, why he had done it, and all this. It's really disturbing. And even then, we don't really actually have the full why per se. We have part, but there's more to it that we just don't have. But I'm gonna give you guys the count to 3. So if you guys are under the age of 18. Make sure you guys at least have parent consent, but even then, I'd still suggest enjoy your childhood. Come back to this case when you're 18. You know, this is like I said, it's a pretty disturbing case. It's pretty heinous. So I'm just gonna give you guys a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So there was my spoiler, if you will, a little warning. So Mr. Cruel was, like I said before, he was a kidnapper, he was a pervert, and on top of that, it's believed he was also a murderer. Now, the really interesting thing is this guy seemed to really know what he was doing. Like, he's had plenty of experience, which leads me to believe that this guy had thought this out before he actually committed the first act. But he was notorious for kidnapping young girls, and then essentially assaulting them. With the final one, which we're not even 100% sure this is actually a Mr. Cruel victim. We're not 100% sure, honestly. We're not. Because parts of it don't necessarily match how his other cases were, because it's the only one that involved murder. But there's at least 4 cases. Well, we're looking about 3 to 4 cases at least that this man was involved in. Descriptions are pretty much the same. A little bit difference in between a couple of them, but it's not a drastic difference, which a lot of investigators were led to believe this is definitely him. So, yeah, it's just a little, like I said, it's a little disturbing. So let's just hop right in. So we know that there was, well, we've got listed here at least 4 victims here. I do apologize. I do not actually have access to Carmaine Chan's most accurate photo. This is her when she was much younger, but still, end of the day, this is her when she was much younger at the very bottom. But the first victim was known as Laura Plenty. She was 11 years old. Time of attack was at 4 a.m. And Mr. Cruel ended up staying at the house until 6 a.m. roughly. So when it came down to it, there was breaking and entering were some of the crimes he had committed. Of course, aggravated kidnapping, rape, and burglary. Every crime itself, when it comes to other countries and all this, how the law dictates what they're called, blah, 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 right? They're a little bit different, but here in the States, these are at least the charges he would be actually charged with. Next, we have Sharon Willis. She was 10 years old. And the time of the attack was at I can't read it right now. I don't remember off the top of my head. I really should go and start bringing these up as a little bit larger text so I can read it a little bit easier. Let's see. Should be loading up any second now. Any second now. So I believe it was about 6 o'clock in the morning is when he struck. I could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure I am, but... yeah, it was 5:30 in the morning, and he stayed there until 5:37. This is over at Sharon Will's house. Do apologize for calling her Willis, but it's Sharon Wills. She was age 10. The crimes they committed here: breaking and entering, kidnapping, rape, and burglary. Now, the part about burglary he would get hit with is the fact that he had stolen some of her clothes and then brought them with him. Okay, that's basically it. Outside of that, it would be a tough one to stick him with that because it was only a change of clothes for her specifically. But the kidnapping, breaking, and entering, rape, all those occurred. Next up, we have Nicola Linus. She was age 13 at the time of attack. It occurred around 10:40, and he was actually in the home until about 11. But his crimes committed there were breaking and entering, kidnapping, and rape. There was no burglary at this. Well, you could easily argue that he also committed Grand Theft Auto. So I mean, he didn't take any money, but he took the family car and he just literally parked it right around the block. Basically, it wasn't very far. And then he got in his own car from there and then left. Last but not least is Carmaine Chan. She was age 13. Time of attack was 8:40 p.m. and he was only there for roughly about 10 minutes and left at 8:50. So the crimes here were breaking and entering, aggravated kidnapping, rape, and homicide. Now, rape is not 100% sure. We're not really 100% sure he actually did commit this or not. It just depends on the information you get. But we do know that it was at least breaking and entering, aggravated kidnapping, and homicide. But let's go a little bit over the timeline, and then we're going to kind of go over the descriptions and whatnot, and I'll break down what I can for you guys. So, this all started on Saturday, August 22nd, 1987. So at 4 a.m., suspect broke into the Lower Plenty residence, confined and bound the family, sexually assaulted the young female member of the family, and stole some of the family's belongings. This included some records, I believe some shaving cream, maybe a razor, and some clothes. The records that were actually stolen were something that would have been kind of a little bit harder to come by. Every piece of data I've found on this has directly said, no, this is more of kind of a rare collection. So this is something that he would have had to have kept end to the end because I don't know why I just said twice, but he would have had to have kept this because if he would have sold it, that would have been a red flag right there. That's the type of thing that would have been flagged, at pawn stores and other stores that he could have sold this at, right? So, and especially at this time, this is still the 80s and all this. I mean, people would have they would have been kind of on the lookout for things like this, specifically this record collection. So, at about 6 a.m., the suspect fled the residence. Tuesday, December 27th, 1988, so a little over a year later. At 5:30 a.m., suspect broke into the Wills family home. And at 5:37 a.m., suspect kidnapped Sharon Wills and fled the residence with some of her belongings. It was just clothes. Wednesday, December 28th, 1988, so just a day later, roughly, a little after midnight, suspect left Wills at Bayswater High School, gave her directions to a nearby Food Plus store, and warned her to not look at him. Okay, this is the kind of like turn back, don't look at me, don't turn him around, just keep walking. But Tuesday, July 3rd, 1990, so a couple years later, at around 11:20ish, suspect. Oh, that's what it was. It was 11:20ish. Suspect broke into the Linus family home. So, to apologize about the Nicola Linus time of attack, it was actually 11:20ish when he broke in, and then left at about midnight. Tuesday, July 3rd, 1990 continued. 11:47, suspect kidnapped Nicola Linus, stole the family car keys, not card, but car keys, and fled the residence in the family car. Around midnight, Linus' parents returned, not rerun, but returned home to find their daughter missing, phone line cut, and car missing. Friday, July 6, 1990, so just a few days later, around 2 a.m., suspect left Linus at SEC substation. Shortly after that, Linus found safety and called her father. And Saturday, April 13th, 1991, at 8:40 p.m., suspect broke into the Chan family home and confined and bound Carmaine Chan's sisters. Depending on where you get, like I said before, depending on where you hear the story, others are saying, oh, it was like in the kitchen area. Others are saying it was kind of like a pantry or maybe even armoire, where they had, where he had bound the children and kind of left them there. At 8:50 p.m., suspect kidnapped Carmaine Chan and fled the residence. And then at 9 p.m., the Chan sisters broke free, very, very quickly broke free from their bindings and called their father. Allegedly, the Chan patriarch told his wife nothing was wrong concerning the phone call. That is a bit weird, and this is why I found it a little bit interesting concerning this case. And at about 11 o'clock p.m., a passerby on Elizabeth Street in North Coburg heard a gunshot close by, and he spotted a man in coveralls with a gun in the air. Carmaine's remains were found April 9th, 1992. So, okay. There's quite a bit to go and unpack from that. End of the day, we've got more or less a schedule, okay? So you look at first, you got Saturday. So this is looking probably typical blue collar or just a typical worker type of schedule, most likely attacking early Saturday morning, probably right after work, got a little rest, got cleaned up a bit, and then went in to go and commit a crime. But then you got Tuesday. Now that's a weird one. So you look at December 27th, did he have the time off maybe? Because this is this throws it a little bit off for his schedule here. So this is where I think he may have just done this on purpose, taking the day off maybe, taking a few days off, just to go and commit some crimes here. Then you get, of course, this is where we start seeing things starting to kind of line up. Maybe these are his days off. So then you got 1990, Tuesday. He's free to go and commit his crime here. And then, around Friday on July 6th, he's had some time off apparently, and he had been at the residence due to Nicola Linus's very good testimony on this, and basically saying, hey, this is what exactly happened. This is how long I was there. This is when I left, or this is when I was dropped off and all this. Left very, very, very good information here. Okay, so he was around. And then on Friday, of course, he lets her go, and then, she goes, calls her father from a safe location. Then we got back on the Saturday schedule. A year later. Now, there's people that believe that this guy, he worked at the substation. Probably, that way he's got information about these types of things, right? We don't know for sure. Okay, there's a lot about this case we can say, without a doubt, we know this, we know this, we know this. But a lot of it, really, end of the day, most of the case, speculation still. So you guys can see up on the screen, you can see this big old red triangle there. That's his area, his little triangle, basically the triangulation people have got currently. He attacked this, just a few of these areas. This is where he did all these activities. Okay. So we know he's at least in this general vicinity. And we know from Nicola Linus, there was at least a house he was staying at with her. Sharon Wills, she didn't give as great of a testimony, basically, but keep in mind difference in age here, 10 to 13. There's a whole lot of differences here when it comes down to what they recall. Now, some 10-year-olds, great memory and all this, recalling a whole lot, paying attention to a whole lot of stuff. But, end of the day, we've only got really 3 testimonies here, and the 4th of which, well, there's no testimony. Not from her, at least. Not from the victim. main victim, I should say. But if you look at the descriptions we've got right above the triangulation, you've got some different designs of different outfits this character had worn. So we've got the green ski mask. If you look at that there, it looks pretty hand-stitched. It's a balaclava, and you can see these wearing different balaclavas in every single one of these, right? So this is something I think he was doing a whole lot of like custom work on, especially because you've got a green balaclava. That wouldn't be common. Okay, when it comes to balaclavas, you got black. That's going to be common. Nowadays, you can start getting some, hot pink and neon green, stuff like this. Yeah, that's going to, orange. Those are going to be ones that are going to be a little more common now, but still black would still most likely be the most common. So getting something that's really green, and then on top of that, of it being custom, this is where if this was a current crime, like something that is occurring now, it'd be a lot easier to track. Okay, but it's a custom balaclava. Obviously, it's hand stitched to close up the mouth a bit, close up the eyes. Two of the descriptions. There's the Sharon Wills and then the Nicola Linus. This is descriptions that are going to be not Nicola Linus, but the Carmine Chan. Those are going to be the two. They're going to be the most reliable when it comes to the description here. So, but you got early cruel, and then you've got the later cruel. That's basically it. Now, if you look at the very far left drawing, right, that was a children's drawing. That was from the sisters, what they had described as, like, that was his description. That one, and then the blue coveralls, and then the green mask, they all seem to line up with this is Mr. Cruel. And that's why. This is directly why that I believe that the investigators, this is why they believe that. Okay, but really, kind of the breakdown. This is where I find a little interesting. Is he goes from being in a suit to coveralls. Now you got to ask, why coveralls? Now, if you go off of Sharon Will's description too, you've got a blue. Like, this is full on blue, okay, for the whole get-up. Which leads me to see, the coveralls is what really throws me here. Okay, because if it was a green, if he was going off with his green balaclava, the blue is not going to look good, and it's going to clash enough to the point where it's going to be a lot more noticeable. Now, this is where I'm going to get into the whole memory thing here, because, see, with all blue, that's easy for Sharon Wills to remember. But here's the thing. We got to be looking at this from the memory side of things here. What's going to be easier to remember? Is it going to be something that's not going to match, or is it something that's going to match, right? Well, if it's something that doesn't match, now you're going to start noticing details. That's just how the human mind works. You're going to notice, this doesn't match. Okay. What else can I remember off this? It's going to be easier to remember this. This guy did not match. But if somebody matches, now think about it this way. If somebody matches, you're less likely to remember all these extra details. Right? Why is that? It's because, well, it all aesthetically, it's visually appealing to the eyes. So the memory itself is going to remember a man in blue. But if you got a man that's wearing a green balaclava, blue coveralls, and is wielding a really bright object for a weapon, you're going to all of a sudden, now you've got 3 different objects your mind is automatically going to try and remember. Okay? Now that's where this is going to get interesting here, because there's a psychological aspect to this that I think Mr. Cruel, like I said, why I believe he's also very highly intelligent. I believe this is why he would have remembered that. That's why I also believe the green balaclava, there's a reason that was done, and there were specific reasonings behind every little piece of every little action he was committing, every little piece of clothing he was wearing. It was all done purposely, except for the very first one. And I think that was just because it was early Mr. Cruel. Now, I don't have much more for tonight, but am open for questions right now. We are going to cover this again. I have some more Murder of the Greystone episodes upcoming in the next couple weeks. Starting on Monday, we're going to be having the return of Comic Wars, at least season 3. There is a ton of awesome matchups this time. This round, this season, I should say. And then, of course, we have Real News Now. The next episode is coming up tomorrow at noon. All right. Well, without further ado, because there is no questions, we're going to go and leave it here. Like I said, we do have a few more episodes that we're definitely going to be bringing about with this. I want to make sure I've got everything I've got from my TikTok, my view of the case when I was looking at it and really putting together from TikTok. I've got a bunch of stuff on there that I need to convert over, and of course I want to make this so it's visually appealing, so that way, once again, you guys do remember this a lot easier. I do the same type of thing. I want things to be remembered, so this is the best way, is I'm going to go and find things that are going to be visually appealing and put them together for you guys, so that way they're not only visually appealing, but it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to digest and memorize. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys, well, if you guys are interested in the news, which I would highly suggest checking it out. Also, I'm considering also bringing the podcast over the recordings and everything and putting them on YouTube as well, so you guys here can also hear the news as well. But thank you guys for tuning in.